What is up, Texas Longhorns fans? It's your old friend IndyCar Timm here with the Texas Longhorns Daily Blitz. It is Sunday morning. We've had some time to sit here and reflect on the events of Saturday night. If you were at DKR, it was a ruckus. Maybe making up words here on the Longhorns Daily Blitz. Welcome into the show. I am IndyCar Timm. Welcome into the program. Welcome into FanstreamSports.com. Make sure you go over and download that FanStream Sports mobile app for iOS and Android for all of the great programming, NFL and college and otherwise over at FanStream Sports. Appreciate you tuning in very much. Yes, not the outcome that I think many predicted. I know many of the national pundits on the shows called for a Texas win, but Georgia's no slackers, you guys, all right? There's a reason they're the two-time defending champions before Michigan, obviously, last season. By the way, what a pretender Michigan is. But welcome to the SEC, I guess, kind of, Longhorns. As Trevor Etienne ran for 3 touchdowns, the first 2 set up by cornerback Dalen Everett's turnovers. And 5th-ranked Georgia went on to beat Quinn Ewers and number 1 Texas 30-15 on Saturday night. Etienne's last score was a 1-yard plunge on 4th down with 12:04 left. That came right after an ugly, ugly sequence when Texas fans littered the field with water bottles and other trash and other debris after the referees made a really, really bad call on a pass interference penalty that was going to take away a long interception return. But eventually the flag was picked up, and that resulted in a Longhorns TD. And look, I'm not going to dwell on this. I went off on social media when it was happening. That is quite possibly, number one, it's an embarrassment for Longhorns and Longhorns fans. It's an absolute embarrassment. You don't throw things onto the field. I don't care what's happening. I don't care where you are, what fan base you are, what stadium you're in, who you're cheering for, what's happening on the field. You never, under any circumstances, throw shit onto the field in the middle of a game or on the ice or on the court or wherever you are at. That is one of the absolute most classless displays I have ever seen in my entire life, and I never, ever would have expected it to come at DKR by Longhorns fans. It's dangerous. It's unnecessary. It's wasteful. But most of all, it's dangerous. You could hit somebody. You don't know where that bottle's going or that piece of trash or debris is going when you throw it. You guys were probably all drunk anyway, and I guarantee you every one of those people that threw shit onto the field at DKR on Saturday night should be charged at the very least with attempted assault and maybe locked up for a couple of days to learn your freaking lesson. Because that is that's just one of the most classless displays I have ever seen. And again, never expected to see something like that at DKR. It's an absolute embarrassment. And you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Just, I could go on and on, but I won't. It's not what the show's about. Georgia began the season at number 1. Has now won 3 in a row since the 41-34 loss at then number 4 Alabama when the Bulldogs overcame a 28-0 deficit and went ahead late during an exchange of long touchdown passes. The Bulldogs never trailed in their first trip to Austin since 1958 to take on the SEC newcomer that had gotten through the first half of its schedule pretty much unscathed. Texas won at reigning national champion Michigan in week 2 and had been behind for less than 4 minutes all season before facing Georgia. So a little bit of insight into how the Longhorn season had been going up until they meet a real SEC opponent. And a little bit of an awakening, I think, for Quinn Ewers, for Arch Manning in the limited time he got to see, and maybe for Coach Sark, too, a little bit. I know he's SEC guy. He's got SEC experience, but not as a head coach. The 15-point loss was the most lopsided for a number 1 team at home since Notre Dame's 31-16 win at Pitt in 1982 when Dan Marino was the Panthers quarterback. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck improved to 19-2 as a starter, including a 7-2 mark against ranked teams. He was 23 of 41 for 175 yards and finished with 3 interceptions. Though Texas didn't get anything out of the first 2 that he threw in the first quarter, those were huge missed opportunities for the Longhorns after those 2 just bonehead interceptions by Carson Beck, who did not start the game very strong. But Texas could not take advantage of it. As a matter of fact, the Longhorns had only 38 total yards of offense at halftime when they trailed 23-0. Barron's pick and 36-yard return to the Georgia 9 late in the third quarter came after contact with Arian Smith that drew a pass interference penalty. Sark was irate at the officials. He went to the far corner of the field where students were sitting, and he was signaling for them to stop throwing shit. Again. Come on, guys. You're better than that. As the debris was being picked up, officials were discussing the play and picked up the flag. 2 plays later, Ewers threw a 17-yard touchdown to Jaden Blue to get the Longhorns to 23-15. And we thought we had a game. And by the way, no, the fact that the students threw bottles and shit onto the field had no bearing on whether or not the officials were going to overturn the flag. They were already talking about it. It just took longer because of the stupid idiots throwing stuff onto the field. So don't think, well, look, we got our way. We got the outcome we wanted because we threw stuff onto the field and it caused the delay. That was not the case. They were going to overturn it anyway. They were already discussing it. As a matter of fact, that's why there was a delay when they started throwing stuff onto the field, is because the officials were already discussing it. So, no, you didn't get your way. You're all still idiots. The Southeastern Conference released a statement on Sunday morning that said officials made the proper decision with their decision not to call the penalty on the play, which we knew. Ewers completed 25 of 43 passes for 211 yards. Everett's blindside sack late in the first quarter jarred loose the ball from Ewers, and the defender recovered at the Texas 13. And after several of his teammates had tried to pick up the fumble, that led to Etienne's 2-yard touchdown for a 7-0 lead. A 15-yard TD run by Etienne with a late lunge into the end zone made it 17-0 after Everett stepped in front of a receiver for an interception at the Texas 34. Peyton Woodring kicked 3 field goals before halftime for Georgia, the last a 44-yarder as time expired after freshman Arch Manning, in for a second series, fumbled while being sacked. And neither Texas quarterback really got anything going, right? Like, Ewers didn't look good. Manning didn't look comfortable. It was just an off night, which is weird being at home. I get it. But I'm telling you, the SEC is a different beast, boys and girls. This is not the Big 12 that caters to your every request and every whim and worships the ground that you walk on. This is the SEC where you are simply just another school. And you're not even one of the good ones at that, as far as the SEC is concerned. So get used to it. It's going to take some time, I think, for the Longhorns to plant their feet in the SEC. I know you are number one. I know you're a really good team. But it's going to take some time to get the level of respect that Georgia was getting, that Alabama was getting when they were good. And yeah, I said when they were good because they're not anymore. Or, Florida when they were good in the SEC. Just whoever. Pick your team that's good. It's going to take a few minutes. Kirby Smart got his 100th career win in 117 games over 9 seasons. The defense set the tone for the Dogs, including 7 sacks and forcing 4 turnovers that turned into 17 points for the Bulldogs. This is the Longhorns' biggest test so far in the SEC, and it turned into a jarring reminder of how difficult things can be in their new league. Texas has lost its last 5 home games against the top 5 opponents since a win over number 3 Nebraska in 1999 when they were both in the Big 12 together. So Texas clearly is falling out of the number 1 spot. It's just a matter of how far Oregon is going to take over that top spot. Number 2 Georgia probably will leapfrog Texas in the standings. Penn State and Ohio State, whose only loss was at Oregon, were both off this weekend. So we'll see how the standings get jumbled up a little bit for you here Next game out, Georgia faces Florida on November 2nd. Texas is at Vanderbilt on Saturday. And look, guys, don't take Vanderbilt lightly. I'm just telling you. Look what they've done earlier this season. No, they're not good. They're not a good team, but man, they play well against good teams. So just watch yourself. Watch your P's and Q's up there at Vandy in your first visit there ever, I believe. I don't know that Texas and Vanderbilt has ever played. But we will review more of Texas, Georgia. We will also preview Vanderbilt and Texas coming up here on your Texas Longhorns Daily Blitz. Appreciate you guys tuning in this morning. Enjoy your NFL football Sunday or whatever it is. Your trip to Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Depot. Whatever you're doing today with the wife or the mistress. Hope you enjoy yourself. We will be back with some Vanderbilt and Texas previews for you. Until then, boys and girls, we'll see you.